Hello, everyone. My name is Phil Harper. I'm the General Manager at Deaf Sports Australia and Chair and Acting Chair of Australian Deaf Games Committee as well, the organising committee. Really pleased to have this special discussion with a couple of panellists. I'd like to ask Catherine Armfield, President of Deaf Sports Australia, to officially welcome these two special people involved in Australian Deaf Games. So Catherine, over to you. Hello. So Catherine Armfield, President of Deaf Sports Australia, very, very privileged to introduce two very special people who have been involved in sports within the deaf community for a long time, have achieved a lot. Both have represented Australia at various sports at international level as well. They bring with them a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge as an athlete, how to promote the sports, trying to win. They're very passionate and very encouraging people, trying to be inclusive. Very, very, very proud to have you two here who will be co-patrons for the Australian Deaf Games next year in Newcastle. And it's going to be at Lake Macquarie. So I'd like to introduce Katie Kelly, first and foremost, Paralympian, represented Australia in Rio in the Paralympics, won gold. Well done. Honoured to have you represent the Australian Deaf Games as a co-patron. Welcome.
Thank you.
I'd also like to introduce a very special deaf community member, Cindy Lou Fitzpatrick. Cindy, warmest welcome to you as well. Cindy will also be a co-patron of the Australian Deaf Games, and she spent many years from a youngster being involved in sports, specialising in swimming. She brings with her a lot of experience in athletics as well, and is really passionate about participation in sports for everyone, regardless of your hearing loss, abilities. Cindy represented swimming, Commonwealth Games, Deaf Olympics, national level. Really honoured to have her to be co-patron. So welcome to you, Cindy Lou. Thank you, Catherine. Lovely. Pleasure to be here. So I'd like to ask Katie first, but then Cindy, what are your thoughts on your roles as co-patrons of the Australian Deaf Games?
Thank you, Kate. And can I firstly say thank you to Deaf Sports Australia and to the wider deaf sports community for this wonderful opportunity to be co-patron of the 2022 Deaf Games in Newcastle and Lake Macquarie. As someone who was born with moderate to profound hearing loss and having worn hearing aids since I was 5, and still wear them now in my adult life with my hearing deteriorating, the opportunities I've had to connect with the deaf and the hearing impaired community has been quite profound. And I always will remember the first time I was able to do that as a 15-year-old in Toowoomba. And then later in my adult life, when I was the media officer in a pro bono capacity for the Australian Deaf Olympic team. And the thing that stood out for me was the beautiful community that it is. The people were so warm and welcoming of all hearing types. And so I'm truly honoured to be a co-patron with the legendary Cindy Lou, who, I've followed and had the great opportunity to meet with her in Melbourne at the Deaf Olympics. I'm truly honoured to take on this role as someone who has hearing and is not completely deaf, because I think it helps to represent the beautiful, diverse community that is the deaf and hard of hearing community. And for me to be co-patron of these games is just a wonderful opportunity to advocate for our whole community, to showcase the wonderful variety of people that are involved and the sports that they're involved. And we know that sports is a great way of connecting people. It's a great leveler. It's a place that I've always felt at home. And so as a Paralympian, as someone who loves sport, I see my role as advocating the important role that sport has for all Australians, but also more so for communities like ours who can sometimes get left behind because resources aren't made available for their inclusion. And that's a real key part of my role, I think, is advocating for the importance of inclusion and diversity and opportunity for all Australians, including the deaf and hard of hearing community, to be involved in sports at this level as well, at the national level.
Thank you, Katie. Over to Cindy. First of all, thank you for Deaf Sports Australia for electing me as a co-patron as well. With you, Katie, I'm really looking forward to working together with you and Deaf Sports Australia and the Australian Deaf Games. Look, I've been involved in deaf sports for a very long time. As soon as that opportunity came up, it wasn't even a question. It was just a yes, to have a deaf and a hard of hearing person, and hopefully to see some kids out there that come in to us and see two different styles, a fully pledged Auslan user and a person who's hard of hearing, just to co-patron. Because it's interesting that it's been moved to a Newcastle, like a rural area, not into the in the cityscape of Sydney. So I'm aware that I live country and I'm a bit isolated. And hopefully Newcastle will hopefully spread the word, and we can get really, really good numbers, and we can see lots of deaf kids out there, lots of people that can come in and join in sport. And so I think it's a great opportunity, and I'm really, really looking forward to next year. Awesome. Thanks to you both for some of your thoughts in regards to participating in the deaf community and deaf sports and linking in together. I really look forward to next year as well at the Deaf Games in Newcastle, Lake Macquarie. I hopefully will see a lot of you there, which would be awesome. That'd be absolutely great.